Today we're here to talk about ICD-10. Now, it's after October 1st, so you probably know a lot about ICD-10. You probably already had to go through it. You've probably done a lot of work to get everyone on your team educated. You probably also did a lot of work to make sure that you worked with payers, to make sure that the payer, that you knew whether or not they were going to support ICD-10, if there are any changes to your expected reimbursement contracts, et cetera. Probably also did a lot of work with dual coding, making sure that you understood the impacts of ICD-9 to ICD-10 and where your organization may struggle. And that really helped to get the coders and the physicians kind of moving that direction. And that naturally led into testing. Probably worked with your payers. You probably also worked on testing your EHR. Is that ready to go? And as we got closer to the date, there was obviously the step of conversion. So making sure that the new code sets are in place, making sure that preference lists are updated. So now, got to October 1st, ready to go, right? Well, October 1st is really just the beginning. As you move forward, we're going to have claims out the door. And as those claims get paid, we move on and we get payer responses. And as those payers respond, well, you may get denials. You may not get reimbursed as much as you're thinking. And this is really going to happen in perpetuity. And people are going to be working on ICD-10 up until we get ICD-11. I know everyone's excited for that. Well, along the way, there's a lot of potential problems we're going to run into. Physician documentation, more important than ever. It's important that they are documenting with the right specificity, making sure that the documentation is going to support the diagnosis or the procedure that needs to be coded. We're also going to look at coder productivity, right? Coder productivity is predicted to plummet, go way down, 20 to 40% decreases. It's going to be a lot harder for coders to find all of the documentation needed to support their coded diagnosis. They're learning ICD-10 as well, obviously. So as they become more and more proficient, the productivity will start to go up, but at least up front, significant hits. And because the documentation and the coding processes are not quite fluid yet, we're going to expect claim errors to increase. And we're also, if the claims aren't right, well, probably going to get denied, at least sometimes. So denials are expected to increase significantly. All of this, what's this going to lead to? These are really going to lead to an increase in AR days. You're trying to get this money in. Hopefully you've been able to build up a nice cushion of cash to weather that storm, but there is going to be concerns there. And as the productivity goes down and there's more back and forth with the physicians, well, this is also going to lead to an increase in discharge, not final billed, which relates back to AR days, but slightly different metrics of where we're expecting to see impact. Well, as all of these things are impacted, it's important that your organizations have a plan how to address them. How do you make sure that you can get back to status quo as soon as possible? Here at Nordic, we really think that there's a two-pronged approach to making this happen. We focus on denial management and clinical documentation improvement programs. As we look at denial management, really what a lot of this is about reporting. Making sure that you're getting as much detail back from the payer as possible so that you understand why your claim got denied. And also having more of a team effort to work on these denials. What's the role of physicians? What's the role of case managers? Who knows everyone that you want to get involved? But having a plan for how to stratify those denials that come in and then making sure that the right people are involved in addressing them is going to be critical to success, just as it is today. It's just a new focus. Within the CDI program, as you're going through dual coding and as you've understood some of the research, you probably understand the key areas to focus on. Making sure that focus is built into your EHR or your CDI program is the next step, right? Making sure that is very transparent and clear. From what we understand from research that has been completed, the key focus areas are going to be those high dollar, high volume areas. General surgery is going to be hit hard. Ortho, cardiology. And as we move forward, making sure that these areas are a part of your physician documentation improvement efforts will really ensure that it's a team effort. You're improving documentation as you're identifying ways to improve your coding. So the other part of the CDI program is really important for collaboration, again. So there's a lot of groups that need to be involved. Obviously, you'll have CDI analysts who can be working through reviewing the documentation, making sure that it is going to be sufficient to support coding. You also have an opportunity to work with those coders to make sure that they're involved, that they're ready for that handoff as soon as as soon as the patient's been discharged. We hit min days, ready to go, ready to hit coding. So that should start to improve your coder productivity. And also physicians or clinicians in general, making sure that they're involved and they know what their role is, that they can help improve the documentation as needed and the query process back and forth. Making sure that this process is managed is going to be critical to making sure that those bills get out the door in a timely manner. As this starts to focus in and you start to really collaborate and making sure that everyone is taking part in these efforts, actually improving the physician documentation is going to be critical. Obviously, there's a few places that you're going to want to focus. Making sure that the problem list is being used appropriately, is comprehensively got all the problems on there. Maybe you have problem-oriented charting. You also want to be working on note templates and documentation templates. And these templates can be used for everything from procedures to progress notes to H&P notes to surgical notes. Really making sure that the physician documentation is templated, it's discrete. That is going to increase the likelihood that it is going to be specific enough to meet documentation needs, to meet coding needs. So as we finally involve coding in this process, really making sure that they're checking for medical necessity, and as they are collaborating with the CDI analysts, they really should be able to focus on only clarifying those nuances, really making sure that the codes are more accurate. And as we get better and better accuracy of coding, well, that should start to mean that the claim errors are going to decrease. And as the claim errors decrease, the denials should start to decrease. And you're still going to want this feedback loop where the denials and denial reporting is informing the CDI program in terms of what they should be focused on, but it's going to be a more holistic process. And so tying together functionality and workflows, operational processes, and accountability for denial management using that to inform your CDI program, making sure that they're focused in the right areas and working across all of the team members to then ultimately focus on improving clinician and physician documentation, all while keeping everyone educated in terms of what's the latest, what's happening in our organization, what does all this documentation and work, what does this mean to the bottom line? That is going to really allow your organization to come together cohesively, be able to meet these challenges head first, and make sure that your AR days start to creep back down again. So that's all I have for you today. Hopefully gonna get to talk to you again in the future, and hopefully you're gonna be successful with ICD-10. Thank you for your time.